Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very colorful card for you guys using a background stamp. A stamp which initially I thought was really intimidating, but turns out I am in love with this stamp set. I have created multiple cards using this particular stamp set. This here is the Summer Fruit Tile Stamps by Simon Says Stamp. This was part of the Sunny Vibes release. Now, if you take a closer look, this is a large background stamp with multiple images. You could stamp it as a background and color it like I will be doing it here today. Or you could cut out various components of this piece and color it or layer it as per your wish. We also have some solid images that could be layered on top of these images and sentiments which say so happy for you, happy birthday, just saying hello and smile. Now I plan on gold heat embossing this image onto a white piece of cardstock. Now this is an A2 size panel, but I will be cutting it down just so that I have a border around the image. Before I cut the panel down, I will stamp this image using the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink. I used a light adhesive to hold this paper down onto my stamping tool instead of holding it down with the magnets because this background stamp would cover the entire card front. Here I have the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing and watermark ink, which I will be using twice to stamp the image. Don't forget to use the anti-static powder tool every time you use your embossing ink. This will prevent the powder from sticking to places where you don't want it to, and the powder will only stick to the stamped image. Now here I have the Simon Says Stamp Ultrafine Gold Embossing Powder. This is a beautiful ink and I love this when it comes to any kind of embossing, be it this huge background stamp or even for sentiments. I like to use this Positively Everything tool whenever I am heat fixing my embossing powder. I will let my panel cool down for a couple of minutes before using this nested A2 size die by Spellbinders. Now here I have a panel that is slightly smaller than an A2 size card frame. I will be coloring this background using the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. These are alcohol markers which have 3-in-1 colors ranging from the darkest shade to the lightest. Now I decided to use some of the bold colors for my fruits. I have pinks and oranges, blues, purples. And for my leaves, I have different shades of green. I took my time to color this image. Now here you will see that I have sped up the coloring process, but it took me almost an hour to color this image because I wanted to make sure that none of the color goes out of these embossed lines. But yeah, I did get a slight boo-boo on this watermelon. We would fix that with our sentiment strip. I like to use alcohol markers when I'm coloring my images. You could very well use pencil colors, watercolor, or even ink blending. You could ink blend the entire background in one color or a rainbow of colors. In another project where I created a card using the same background stamp, I left all of the images blank and just colored a little orange in the center, which was the focal point of my image. Check out my Instagram for more pictures of the cards that I have created using this background stamp set. I will leave a link to all of those in the description box below. Another thing to note here is that when I'm coloring, I like to use one specific color all over my background. Like I have used the reds on the fruits, I have used all of the greens on all of the leaves, and then we have the orange for the fruit and for the carrot. So I like to use one particular color and use it wherever I can on the card project before I move on to the next shade or the next color. I was enjoying all of the shading that I did here, but you could keep it simple and use just one shade of any of the colors that you like. I love how this turned out. Well, the fun part about using a background stamp, I feel, is that you create your own pattern paper. And well, this pattern paper that I created here is so colorful, and that gold embossing powder, it's absolute perfection. Now, I wanted to create slight vintagey look on these summer fruits. So instead of having the stark white, I decided to have slight brown effect on my card front. So the summer fruit tiles also comes with coordinating stencils where you could mask each of these tiles and have ink blending done on them. But since I didn't have any of those stencils, I decided to use some sticky notes and mask each of the tiles separately and use the lightest shade of brown that I have in my positively saturated ink collections. Here I have used latte ink just to ink blend around the edges of these tiles. Note that I am not using a heavy hand here. I just want the slightest hint of brown on all of these tiles just to avoid the stark white background. I love how this panel turned out. I definitely like the slight hint of brown on my background panel as compared to the stark white background. Now I stamped and heat embossed the happy birthday sentiment again from the same stamp set, and I will be covering up that little boo boo on my watermelon there. So here's a note where if you have any kind of mistakes or if you spill something on your card front, you can hide it with a sentiment strip or with some gemstones or sequin mixes. There's a lot you can do in case of any mistakes on your card front. Now I stuck this panel using some double-sided tape onto a craft cardstock. This brown cardstock I feel matches perfectly with the latte ink that I have used on my background. Now to finish up the card, I decided to go ahead and use some white gel pen just to create a bit more interest and shine onto these images. You could add some sequin mixes or embellishments to embellish your card front, but I chose not to since I was happy with these white dots, and I also ended up using my black gel pen just to add some interest to the center of some of these fruits. It was like coloring the little tiny seeds on these fruits. I love how this card turned out. I must say, initially when I got this stamp set, I was really intimidated by it since this is not my style. But the more I've been using it, I am loving it. I love the different types of cards that I have been able to create using this stamp set. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you again soon. Until next time, stay safe.